Hey guys, Peluigi here. In this video we're going to talk about illustrations in UI, UX and web design, since illustrations can be really efficient in order to communicate a concept in a fast and efficient way. But not only that, and we're going to explore the pros and also the cons of using illustrations. Now, I recently downloaded this file from UI8 called Nomi, which has a lot of different illustrations of credit cards, and this reminded me of a lot of the projects which I worked on for SaaS companies, especially over the past 9 years that I've been a UI UX designer. And by now I actually saw some patterns when it comes to the use of illustrations in UI UX design. And one of the most important things to consider if you're going to use illustrations is, do you really need them in order to communicate a point? Because as I see them, illustrations are essentially tools in your toolbox, which is going to enable you to communicate a concept in a faster and more efficient way, since as the saying goes, a picture tells 1,000 words. And illustrations can definitely help you to communicate even more abstract concepts, since they don't necessarily need to be illustrations of physical objects or individuals. They can be more abstract. They can actually communicate some features of a app or a particular service that the company is trying to offer. Now, one of my best recommendations if you're looking for free illustrations is to actually have a look at Undraw, which is a resource available from MIT. And the reason why I really like this illustration pack is essentially it's very, very big. You can easily search for illustrations such as here. Let's go and search for web, and you can easily change the color of the illustrations. But back to our point, is illustration the best way to communicate the concept? Well, that's always up to debate, since you might want to consider also images or even simply using icons or copy. But the real decision-making process is what is going to communicate the concept in the most efficient way. So you actually have to ask yourself a question in this specific context. So imagine, for example, that you're working on a landing page design and you're working on the top header. You have to ask yourself, what is the best way to communicate a specific message? Is it going to be an illustration? Is it going to be an icon or a set of icon, or even a image, or something like a screenshot of a web app or something around those lines? So that's going to be dependent on a case-by-case scenario, and you have to make the call. And also one other thing that you have to keep in mind whenever you're using illustrations is that first of all, if you're using an illustration pack, I highly recommend you to consider one which is quite big and extensive, because I can tell you, like, so many times it happens to designers that they select a small illustration pack that maybe looks amazing, and they start using it on maybe like 1 or 2 pages of the website or the web app experience. And then as the project grows, as the website grows, they run out of illustrations. And the simplest solution is to either create another illustration yourself from scratch, but that's going to depend on the style and your skill set, or simply contact the designer or the person, the artist who created that illustration, in the hope that he has either reasonable pricing, which is good for a client's budget, but also availability. So definitely keep these things in mind as you're selecting an illustration pack, because those are going to be some quite important elements that are going to play part in the decision-making process. Also, when it comes to images, you essentially have unlimited amounts of images. There's a lot of free stock photos out there, and even premium ones. And when it comes to illustrations, those elements are going to be more tailored, and you have to think ahead when it comes to that part. Now, another important element that you have to consider when it comes to illustration is that it's going to play a big part in the brand identity. So you want to keep consistent illustrations, and you want to ask yourself, is illustrations the best way to support the brand identity, and is it in line with the brand identity of the company? You also have to ask yourself, is that specific illustration style going to be in line with that brand identity? So for example, these illustration styles are quite generic, meaning that they can apply to a lot of tech and SaaS companies, but not all of them. So you have to make your call when it comes to that, and especially when it comes to 3D illustrations. I know that they look really cool, and there's a bunch out there, but you have to consider that those are going to be smaller libraries on average, and they're going to tailor to a specific set of companies, while other ones might not benefit from a style which is three-dimensional. So keep all these things in mind. But generally speaking, illustrations are memorable and catchy, and they work well in growing brand awareness and recognizability, especially in crowded marketplaces where you really need to do all that you can in order to stand out from the crowd. So definitely keep that in mind, and I hope this video was helpful. If you liked it, please leave a like, and as that helps support the channel. And I have over 400 videos on UI UX design, sharing my past 9 years of experience working in the field. So feel free to check it out if you're interested in more free videos. And I also recently launched a free course on how to get started in this field. So if you're interested in getting started in UI UX design in 2021, feel free to check it out, and I'll see you in the next one.